kind of segue. So I'm the person on my team that created the first scaffolding, the first stubbed out project, the first code project, and I created a repo. I pushed my code up there. But now the other developers want to get into the game. They want to start working on this same project. So let's look at it from that perspective. So now we've got an existing GitHub project out there, and I want to grab a copy of that and move it to my local machine and start working on it and eventually push my changes back to it. So what does that look like? Well, in order to do that, I'm going to go over here I'm going to go find the GitHub project. So whoever created that repo for you, whether it's your sponsor or one of your teammates, is going to basically add. That's why they're asking you for your GitHub handle, right? They're going to add you to this project, and you're going to get invite. So once you've accepted an invite, you're going to go over to this project, and you're going to see this clone or download button. And I'm just going to click it, and you'll see right here is the URL, and I'm going to copy that. And what that's going to do is put the URL of that project into my buffer, and I'm going to go up. Now I'm kind of simulating another developer, so I'm going to get out of this local project, and I'm going to clone a new copy of that repository. So we're going to say git clone and then that URL. So now there's a subdirectory here called git practice, and that's just another copy of the repository. So let's go down into that repo. And there I am. You can see my two files. And if I did a git log, you can see that initial commit is there. So all that history from my colleague is now there and preserved for me. So that's cool. I'm excited. And now I want to try this program out. And so I decide I'm going to start building this. And so I'm going to start by just building an object file of this hello.c. Right? So I'm going to worry about linking this later because there's a few libraries I want to pull in, but I just want to see if it compiles. So I do this, and sure enough, it compiled cleanly, and it left this hello.o file. So that's the object file. That's the unlinked object file for my C compiler. And it left that on my directory, so I'm good. It compiles. And then I do a git status, and I notice it's saying, hey, you got this untracked file, hello.o. And I'm like, well, that's an object file. That's generated. I don't want that to go into my repository. And I really get annoyed. I don't want to see this thing. It's going to be there until I link and it goes away. So I don't want Git to keep telling me about this. I want Git to ignore this file because it doesn't matter. This file, Git can just forget about it altogether. And so I need to solve that problem. And the way I do that, so anytime I have files in the project directory that I don't want Git to pay any attention to, I need to create a git ignore file. So I'm going to do this from my editor, and the name of this file is going to be .gitignore, and it's in your top level directory, the same directory that your .git subdirectory is in. So I'm going to do that, and I could do this. I could say hello.o, so any file I list here is just going to get ignored. But I might have a lot of .o files because eventually I might have 150 different .c files. And so I can use wildcards as well. I can say, okay, anything with a .o on it is none of your business. You don't need to deal with it. All right, now if I do a git status, okay, notice this is interesting. The hello.o is now gone. It's being ignored, just what I wanted to do. But now what's it doing? It's saying, hey, I found another untracked file. It's called gitignore. That's the file I just added. So now I'm like, what am I going to do? Do I want to ignore the git ignore? No, I don't want to do that. I think my colleagues that are working on this project with me want the same benefits. They don't want their .o files being reported by Git either. So I need to add this file to the project, don't I? Okay, so I'm going to just commit it or add it. So I'll say git add.gitignore. Okay, and now if I do a git status, you can see it's staged. So then I can say git commit added gitignore. Now if I do a git status, everything's good, and now I've got my second commit, and I'm set up so that all my .o files are being ignored. All right. Now, it builds. I did a little bit of housework, got my gitignore working. Now, please keep in mind if you're using an IDE like Xcode or Android Studio or, I don't know, IntelliJ, whatever IDEs you're using, there's all kinds of different temporary files and stuff that you don't really want to check into your Git project. Happily, if you Google So if I'm using Xcode and I Google for gitignore space Xcode, I'm going to find some templates online that say if you're doing an Xcode project, here's a boilerplate gitignore that will basically tell Git to ignore anything that's not essential in Xcode. Same thing for all the other IDEs you're using. So if you're using a particular tool, you're not just using Atom or a text editor, then go ahead and find the entries you want to put in that Git ignore so that you can work without Git being real noisy on you and keep reminding you about files you don't care about. Let's take a brief break, and then we'll come back in the next video and take a look at how we can introduce a new feature to our software project by using the git branch and git merge commands.